Hi everyone, my name is SANKOFA, and today I'll be reviewing the film SANKOFA. It also came out in 1993. This movie explores slave trade and then moves on to a modern day African woman who is then transported back in time to experience slavery. After she was transported, she had to force herself to go through harsh realities of her ancestors' past. So what is the point of this film? In my opinion, I think it's about learning from the past, to know the history of slavery, overall turning back time and reconnecting to your roots. The term SANKOFA means looking back to see and to learn from the past. It also is a symbol or a bird who has its head's turning back. Like for instance, this picture here is the SANKOFA bird, and this is the movie flyer. Moving on, so who was your favorite character and why, and who was your least favorite character and why? So my favorite one is really hard to decide. I was between Shango and Shola. Shola because she's like the main character, and Shango because he is shown to be strong-willed and loyal. He cared for everyone else, and he wouldn't leave anyone behind. Like, no matter the situation, he would remain there even if he had the chance to escape on his own. He wouldn't leave. And as for Shola, I feel like I can resonate with her sometimes because we forget where we come from, we forget our roots, and we take what we have for granted. I feel like we should be like her, to go back and understand your roots so we can be grateful of what we have in present. Now, as who was my least favorite character was James, Shola's rapist, and Father Raphael. I disliked James because he was a supremacist and the way how he was treating others. As for Shola's rapist, it's pretty self-explanatory. He sexually abused her. And for Father Raphael, who was a character who influenced Joe to do bad things, even though, convincing him that they were correct to do. And he also was a white supremacist. And he's very discriminative. So yeah, so this is Shola, this is Shango, and I couldn't add the pictures of James, Shola's rapist, nor Father Raphael because it didn't have that many pictures of this movie, really. Don't know why. Moving on, there's an article called To Know Where You Come From that is divine, 3 new documentary films on the African slave experience, an article by Benjamin N. Lawrence. The overall purpose of this article is about how he reveals 3 documentary films based on the African slave experience, such as the 12 Years a Slave, Belle and Harriet. So this article relates to SANKOFA because SANKOFA is also an example of another film based on African slave experience. SANKOFA is a visual story of how African slaves used to live in the 1800s. How they live, how were they treated, and their overall experience of being a slave in those times. So why do we keep showing such an old film? What is the point in this for students of Africana Studies in 2024? Well, now 2025. I think it's very important to recognize these old films because it's very important to know the history of slavery. Slavery has not only existed in the U.S., but it also has existed in many other places. At the end of the day, slavery was also part of U.S. history, and I think it's an important topic to talk about because history is what has taken us to become who we are today. History is it's what shows us what happened in the past and how we're now. and how things have evolved for the better and best to everyone in equal nation. SANKOFA is also visual representation since there have only been records written about slavery. There has never been films because making movies didn't exist back then till the 1900s. For those who are visual learners, I feel like movies are like the best way to actually see and resonate with stories that were based on true events, such as the movie Harriet and 12 Years a Slave. These two movies were also very good, and I feel like we should be exposed to movies that illustrates us African experience. Like there's also so many movies out there like Tula, The Revolt, Belle, Prince Among Slaves, Emperor, Brother Future, Bigger Than Africa. I feel like these movies and films, they resonate with African history, although they may not be completely accurate, but they try the best to show the story through these movies as a visual representation. It's being able to see and get an idea how things were back then. So how can SANKOFA help guide your own life? Well, this movie is an example for us to learn from the past and to reconnect with your roots. I feel like reconnecting to your roots gives you like a sense of an identity. And I remember when I was watching the film, like the first few minutes was when Mona was taking pictures by the beach, and the photographer was telling her to do some certain poses and everything, and she seemed so disconnected and carefree, like she had no connection to her past, like nothing else mattered to her. And in that scene, that's when SANKOFA, the main character, entered, and he persistently urges Mona to remember her past, and that the coast castle, I think, was a sacred place where he connects with spirits of enslaved Africans and the Cape Coast. And he, SANKOFA, he also doesn't allow tourists to enter because to him was a very important and sacred place. And after that, she takes on the life of Shola, which was a house servant or a house slave, in other words. Now that she has taken the life of Shola, she realizes how hard it is to live back in those times. She suffers abuse by her slave masters, and then after that, she's a victim of rape. And they stripped her clothes and then branded her. So her life turned into 360 degrees. I guess her experience as Shola has taught her the hardships of Africans and how in current times she has the privilege to be free like everyone else without discrimination that they had back then. I feel like overall the point of this film is very important, and I feel like we should learn from it. Everyone has background. Like for instance, my family is from an immigrant family, and it wasn't easy to come here into this country to achieve the American dream, and how now I have the opportunity to go to college, get a degree, have a job, and try to be successful in life. So Sultana at the Ascris was also an example where she won an Oscar, she gave a speech about how she thanked her family and how she reconnected with her Dominican roots. And I feel like that's something important. Like, no matter where you are, it's always important where you come from. And these are my references. This is for the article, the film, and then I reference Wikipedia as well. Thank you for listening to my small presentation. Thank you.